The mood is right, the spirit's up. We're here tonight, and that's enough.
Well, as most of you know, I always like talking about gadgets, and this is a good gadget time of year with Christmas and the holidays coming up, so I invited to come in and talk gadgets and gizmos with me this afternoon David Young, president of the Sound Room out in Chesterfield. You might hear me talking about him every once in a while in the Sound Room because I am a big fan. David, how are you? Welcome back here to KMOX.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
You know what's funny about David and I is that years ago, before I really knew what you did, we would occasionally ride bikes together.
Right.
And people look different. It's sort of like when you see a baseball player without his hat on. People look different in spandex and bike helmets, don't they?
Sometimes scary.
Yeah, not always in a good way, but we go way back to the team that we rode for the Bike MS event. And this is not exactly, by the way, stating the obvious, the best bike riding time of year.
No, it's a little cold. People are starting to move indoors, which benefits us because, we sell home entertainment.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about home entertainment. So I was just telling you about some great movies that are coming out in the next few weeks. You and I both are entertainment fanatics. And I have I've been fascinated with where TV has come from at a very quick time. I don't know if you saw the clip from a very painful game when you think about what happened to Missouri. But when Auburn beat Alabama in that game, did you see the clip of the guy that went just absolutely nuts?
Yeah.
So he had a tube TV. So my comment was, can somebody get him a flat screen TV because he might be the only person in America without a flat screen? And we've come to this point very, very quickly. But the new technology is 4K. So I want you to talk about that because for people who haven't seen it, it's kind of amazing.
So it seems like just about everybody but that guy has a flat TV,
right.
High definition. It's been around for, a decade or more. Sony came out with something better, the 4K TV, which is 4 times the resolution of high definition. And what that means is that there's just 4 times as many pixels. So the pixels are smaller. That means that you can walk right up to it, and you don't see how the picture is pixelated. You can get a bigger screen or get closer to your screen. And I used to say high definition was like looking out a window. When you look at a 4K, it's like take the window away. It's amazing.
That was, I think, the reaction that we had with HD. When you first saw HD, you're like, wow, this is something else. And I remember thinking at the time, well, what's next? And this is obviously what's next, 4K.
Fast forward a decade, and 4K is now the kind of the new up-and-coming standard. Movies, as you probably know, in theaters are shot in 4K with 4K cameras. 4K cameras are used commercially, and now they have consumer 4K cameras. You're going to start to see those home movies being streamed in 4K as well. Now, somebody might say, well, I don't have 4K content. What the new TVs do is they upconvert all of the existing content, so it makes everything look better. Not as good as original 4K content, but it does improve everything.
Yeah, that was my question because I know that even happened with HD. First it was 720 and then
1080.
1080, right? I was going to say 1120 because I had KMOX on the mind. But even if you had 1080, it wasn't necessarily something that you would see in that format because not all the content was there. But you're saying that even with, and I've seen the examples at your store of 4K, it's dazzling, and it's the only way really to put it.
Yes, it is amazing, and everybody sees the difference. I mean, you don't have to look for it.
All right, the other technological advancement that we've come to, and we're going to talk about something that's retro here with turntables in just a moment. But let's talk about digital audio and where we're coming to with digital audio because everybody listens to their iPod or their iPhone, and even if you're not in your car, you probably listen to some music at home. And there's all these systems out there. And I had a friend of mine who was over at the house watching the football game the other day, and he was talking about his Sonos system. And I said, and I don't have one of these, but I said, I know that the Sound Room has Sonos systems. So explain what these are and why people, because they're hot right now and people love them,
huge.
right?
Yeah. This is wireless audio. So it used to be if you wanted music in all different rooms of your home, you had to string a lot of wires. You had to either build a new home or you had to conceal wires. This is now wireless, reliable wireless audio. And so basically what you get is you get a bridge device. It's about $50, connects to the internet. And then this system allows you to stream all of the free services like Pandora, the music services like Rhapsody, and it looks on your network and finds all your digital music on iTunes or wherever you have it.
Combines it all together.
You get a free app on your smart device. It's Android or it's iPhone or it's a tablet or whatever to control it to see what's playing. And you can stream this music wirelessly around your house. So you can have it in the living room, you can have it in the bedroom, you can have it anywhere you are, you can have wireless music, and people just keep returning to buy more.
So how does it work? Like you have speakers like I do in the living room, and you have maybe some speakers downstairs, and I don't know, in the bedroom. I'm trying to think. I just have the TV. I don't have a system. How does it work with all those things?
So there's several different ways it works. One is just what looks like just a little self-contained table radio. So it looks like a table radio. It comes in 3 different sizes, black or white. You plug it into power, and then it receives the music via wirelessly, and that's great for a smaller room, or you could do a pair and do stereo. If you have your own speakers already built in, or you own a good pair of speakers, then you basically get the amplified version of Sonos. It's basically just a little box with amp, and that powers your existing speakers. Or if you already have a whole house system and you just want to be able to stream music as another source, you get the preamp version, and that it just plugs into your whole house system like another source.
David Young is here from the Sound Room, and we're just talking about some of the gadgets and the gizmos that are available this holiday season. So as you know, for the first time in about 25 years, certainly 23 years, I unpacked my vinyl this year. They were in boxes for years and years. I don't know how many moves I made, and I kept thinking to myself, why am I keeping this vinyl? Well, it was for 2013, David, because I didn't even have a turntable until this year. And it's interesting because turntables are making a comeback. Vinyl is making a comeback, isn't it?
There is a real resurgence in vinyl. It's it's young people, it's middle-aged people, older people. It's across the board. There's a certain passion to playing a record. It's not background music. People get into, pulling the record out of the sleeve and putting it on the turntable, and they spend 30 minutes and listen to music seriously, as opposed to just something that's in the background.
Yeah, that's the real key. It's funny. My producer, Dave Klein, who's in the other room right now, this is what he said to me. We have one turntable in one of our studios, and I do this feature on Friday afternoons. It's called Name That Piece of Vinyl from Mark Reardon's Basement. And the first time I did it a few months ago, I bring a record in, I put it on the turntable, and Dave, he's 29 years old, he's not exactly young, he says, how do you tell which songs are which? He didn't realize, I'm talking about you, Dave Klein, that there was grooves in the record that you can put the needle on to determine which song to go to, which I thought was interesting because it was a lack of perspective, right?
Yeah, there's some funny stories. We had somebody that bought a turntable and took it home and just put a record on it and said, well, there's no sound coming out of it, and didn't realize you had to hook it up to a receiver or an amplifier and speakers to get sound. So, there's some funny stories. But basically, we've sold more turntables this year than we ever have. We picked up we're 30 years old. When we started 30 years ago, that's all we sold. And
isn't that interesting?
Fast forward 30 years, and our latest product line that we picked up was a turntable line.
Now, was there a period in between there where you didn't have any turntables?
Oh, yeah, for many, many years.
Right.
Yes.
So now it's back to your roots a little bit there with vinyl.
Yeah,
and some of them, I should point out, there are some good price points entry level with turntables, but some of the things that you have, they're like really expensive turntables.
Well, people tend to have a lot more money wrapped up in their vinyl than they do in their turntable. And so in order to protect that investment in vinyl, you want to make sure you play it on a turntable that's not going to wreck your record, the first 3 times you play it.
Which is certainly important. By the way, there's brand new, everybody's putting out special editions of their CDs and their digital releases on vinyl. Any of the big bands right now on 180-gram vinyl, really good vinyl as well. All right, one more topic here, just because I talk about you guys all the time. and you hooked me last year. I had this old receiver. I brought it in, and you're doing something right now still with Integras, right, which is the unit that I have where you can get a bunch of money off on an Integra. Explain what an Integra receiver will do for you, because I know it brings my whole system together.
Well, first of all, if your receiver is more than about 4 or 5 years old, it doesn't have the current connectivity. Everything is gone HDMI. And so that's a special connection. If you buy a Blu-ray player today, it only has HDMI. So your high-definition cable box, your satellite box, they're all done in HDMI, which is the high-definition digital format. If your receiver doesn't have the HDMI input, it's pretty much useless. So, go back 3 or 4 years, it wasn't as prevalent as it is today. So a lot of people have these receivers that they want to upgrade, but they're like, I have this receiver, so what we're doing for a limited time through the 15th of this month is we're giving everybody $200 trade-in towards their old receiver on any new Integra receiver. So this means, and it doesn't even have to work. I mean, it's just
I know you told me that last year that some people, and this is what I suggested, some people were just buying units on Craigslist or something like that and bringing it in. So.
We're hearing all kinds of stories. Somebody grabbed one out of his grandpa's basement and brought it in. We get some classics. We got one Heath kit that some guy put together 40 years ago with tubes that brought it in, and we put a fuse in it and it actually fired up. But what we're doing is we're taking the working models and we're actually donating to the veterans. So
that's awesome.
It's a worthwhile charity. So they're raising money for their events and basically recycling the ones that don't work.
Very cool. David Young from the Sound Room. Awesome to see you. Thanks for coming in. Have a great holiday, and I'll keep talking about you. You know that here on KMOX.
Thanks, Mark.